God literally took everything away. For me to find out that I am nobody on this earth and I don't deserve everything, there's things that I have no control over. I feel like God reminded me what He's always told me, is that if you have nothing but God, you have everything. It's almost like I can hear those words in my head, like I've heard it from Him Himself.
Welcome to the Dynamic Man podcast. This should be episode 4. And hopefully you've heard episode 1 through 3 already. If this is your first time here on the Dynamic Man podcast, what we talk about here is a lot of difficult topics that focus on becoming the best version of ourselves as men in hopes to be of service to others, especially when you're about to start a family. If you don't know me by now, I am a father of soon-to-be 2. And simply put, I decided to start podcasting. I have a podcast called the Broken Instruments Podcast, and that runs entirely separate from the content that I'm putting here on Dynamic Man. So this podcast in particular, Dynamic Man, is going to be focused on a lot of things that I feel like I want to speak on, not simply because I feel like I can toot my own horn about it, but it's more of strategies about life. I think there's a lot of issues going on in our world today, and I believe that it stems from a lack of understanding of our role as men. There's a lot of things being put out there nowadays, especially when it comes to what men should be, what men should do, and I started seeing this as a problem, and I'm hoping I'm not the only one seeing all the bullshit that's being put out there in regards to what's happening in the world. I think in the last couple of years, we've realized that there's a lot of shit that we've been pushed that is not turning out to be what it was. And for me, I think the biggest thing for me, regardless of what background you have as far as work, whatever phase of life you're in, whether you want to start a family or not, there's things that we have to do and become as men so that we can serve others. I think it's one of our purposes in life to serve the people around us, the people that depend on us, that are closest to us. I think we're called to serve in a special way. And regardless of what people tell you nowadays, I think there's so many things being pushed to us as men nowadays that kind of makes us confused about who we are and what we're trying to do in this world. Like I said, whether you're wanting to start a family or not, whether you have a family, whether you're single, whether you're dating, what I want to bring up here in Dynamic Man is the foundational, core, ground level foundation as men. And a lot of deep work has to be done for that. And for me in particular, I believe at this point in my life, not just because I became a father, but going through the last few years, questioning everything that my family has taught me and going over who I became and how I became that way, all those things added up serve what I'm trying to do now, my purpose in life now. Like I said, whether you want to start a family or not, it at this point, it doesn't matter, because as men, I believe that it's our purpose to serve others. It's our purpose to become strong, to become aware, to become emotionally stable so that we could serve the people around us, especially our loved ones, especially our family. If you ask me, I'm hoping I'm not the only one that sees this. The world is in a chaotic state right now. And regardless of your religion, regardless of your political beliefs, regardless of whatever vocation you have in life, I'm pretty sure you notice that there's this shift going on as far as who we are as people. And what I see is people are being pushed towards each other. And I feel like we're being more divided than united on so many different fronts in this world. And to me, it shakes me to the core of who I am to think about the future, to think about my family, to think about us as men and who we want to be and who we want to become and who we're on the way to becoming. a lot of things have been happening this past couple of years, not just COVID, not just the war in Ukraine. I think we're being uprooted as a people, as beings in this earth. And what I'm programmed to do when I come across a challenge or a something confusing or something that I feel like challenges my core beliefs, what I naturally do now, what I was programmed to do now, based on who I've become this past decade, if anything, I pull back in towards myself. I go deeper inward, because deeper inward there are core values and principles and beliefs that I have that cannot be shaken. So when my branches and my leaves and the fruits of my tree are being shaken, what I naturally do is pull back towards myself. I go back to the roots of who I am and who I became and what really shapes me, what makes up the tree that I am. And because of that, I decided to just jump into this realm of podcasting and mentorship, whatever it is for men. Not to say that I'm the ultimate man. I am a broken man. I'm a fallen man. I am imperfect. But I feel like there's too many things nowadays that sway us away from who we really are. And whatever religion, whatever belief, spirituality you have, whatever soul beliefs that you have, I think there's this core foundation that we all have that will never be changed. That if we tap back into that, we tap back into our root, whatever's happening out here in the external world, we can reshape and restructure, reframe that. And a lot of things played out in the last couple of years. I had my first child, and my wife and I are expecting a second child this July. And I can't be more excited and afraid at the same time. I can't be more nervous. I can't be more proud. But at the end of the day, I think the fear is what drives me to come back to who I was, to come back to who I am at my core. And it really helps me find order again in my life. It helps me come back into my fullness as a man. There's so much that I've grown to become from who I was before when I was tackling certain things in my life. And it helps me now. It brings me to this place now where, yes, there's uncertainty. Yes, there's fear and there's anxiety and nervousness. But I look back at this entire decade of my career as a nurse. I look back this entire decade from a young man to becoming the man that I am now. There's so many things that I have learned that I cannot forget, because that helps me now in what I'm about to tackle on. And I look at every stage of life like that. Everything that you've been through in the past, it helps you in the stage and the phase that you are in now. So you can't forget what you've been through. You can't forget who you became and all the lessons you've learned, because it's going to take everything from the past to be who you are now. Now, with all the things that I'm tackling on, the biggest struggle that I still find myself fighting for is my own narcissism. Narcissism and narcissistic people, narcissists. I mean, those terms have been thrown around so much in the last few years that I don't even know if we're losing the definition of what narcissism is or the roots of what narcissism is. I will claim now that everybody has narcissism. Everybody is a narcissist to some extent in their life. The number one tool, fuel, and the number one downfall of mankind is pride. It's narcissism. We have to love ourselves. We have to believe in ourselves to some extent to get things done, to light us up to get things done. Now, the problem is, what I'm starting to see now is what happens when that sways too far and we are living only because we want to feed our egos, right? And this is kind of a common theme in the past few episodes of my podcast. because you have to work through your ego. You have to build a healthy relationship with your ego in order to actually continue to grow in whatever phase you're in. You have to both feed your ego and you have to check it at certain times, and to have a healthy balance of that. For me, coming back into what I'm trying to do now with podcasting and everything, I find myself having to check my ego more and more because we're programmed. And I would argue that social media and everything that we're doing online and things like that, it's structured in a way that our ego is fed so much that we forget that we need to check it. And this is me talking to myself. I have a lot of narcissism. We all do. And when I say that, I don't want, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm going to offend some people. I'm pretty sure I'm going to make you question me. At this point, it has to be talked about because working in mental health alone, I've worked with someone with personality disorders. I've worked with someone with schizophrenia. I've worked with someone with anxiety, someone with bipolar in a manic state, bipolar in a depressed state, major depressive disorder. And yes, I will say all of those individuals, including myself, have a level of narcissism in us. The depressed patient, a person who claims that they're depressed, that always looks at life in a way of lack, that I don't have love in life. I don't have the opportunities in life. I never accomplish anything in my life. I have no joy in life. They don't care for others and they're isolating from others. Yes, at the end of the day, that person's narcissism is what's driving it. They want attention. They want love. They want this. They believe that they deserve that. What I'm saying is everybody is at the center of their own universe. Is this wrong? At that point, that's a judgment. I'm not saying you're wrong for it. I'm not saying you're a bad person because of it. If we look at it objectively, we're able to embrace that about us and be aware of it, because awareness is healthy and it's a positive thing in and of itself. When we're aware of things, that's when we can actually take action from that point of awareness. But if we're not aware and we push that to the side and we're like, oh no, I'm not this, I'm not that, that's not me, we're losing the ability and the opportunity to actually grow and to make effective choices in life. We have to be aware of our egos. We have to be aware of our pride and our ambition in life. With that in mind, we can make choices to actually help people. And I think this is what's being lost nowadays. And I mean, I would say a lot of social media, like I said, it's structured in a way to feed your ego so much that you forget your purpose in life. And I'm speaking to myself, man. You get caught up in this element of social media of like you want to show off so much and you want to state your pride in life. And for me, I'm realizing that, yeah, I lived with pride so much that I started losing my purpose again. I started losing myself again. And at the end of the day, what do we do with this, right? This need for attention, this need for gratification, it's out of pleasure and pain. We either seek pleasure or we avoid pain. We avoid discomfort. We seek comfort, we avoid discomfort. I mean, at that point, if you look at your life right now, what exactly is motivating you to move? When we think back to whatever shapes us in life, whether it be childhood trauma or an event that occurred in life that changes the way you view life now. If we were bullied when we were younger, and we overcompensate now because we become bullies, instead of being overpowered physically, what you did was you developed strength mentally, and now a lot of the people that were bullied in the past are heads of companies. They're managers, they're supervisors, they're CEOs of companies, and they push themselves so far up to look down on people who have made other choices in life, people who have made arguably negative decisions in life. I would say that both are harmful, both are unhealthy. And whether you were the bully in the past or the bully now, I really need us to ask ourselves, like, what the fuck are we doing? Am I living only for ego at this point? Am I living only to serve myself because I need this, because I need that, because I lacked something when I was younger, so I'm trying to find a way to get it now? When we live in this narcissistic state, we are no longer living for a higher purpose. We are living for ourselves. Who owns your life at this point? Do you own your life, or does social media own you? We consume so much from this world rather than thinking about giving to the world. And this is why I believe our world is just a mess right now. We're fed this narrative to always be soft on yourself and to get yours. You deserve everything in this world. You deserve everything in life, and you deserve the best things in life without even working for it. And for me, this is one of the most unhealthy things I think you can give a person, is everything they need and deserve and want. Because at that point, if we didn't work for it, we didn't earn it ourselves, you never really knew what it took. You don't know the hard work that it takes. And at that point, we don't know how to work hard anymore. We don't know how to rise anymore. Like I said, when I face new phases in life, when I face new challenges in life, it's always a necessity for me to pull back inward, to find the ground again, and honestly bury myself in the ground. When I talk about taking ownership back in your life, it's a lot of harsh truths that we need to have. For me, what I understand and what helped me get through a lot of challenges in life is my self-talk has to be the toughest talk I've ever heard. I mean, there's so much push now of, like, positive self-talk, like, you deserve it all, you deserve that. And I'm programmed differently. I don't know if I'm the only one, but a lot of people, I realize I'm getting freaking soft internally. I actually got stuff done because my self-talk was harsher than you can even imagine. And the reason why I shaped that type of self-talk is because I researched and I looked up to people who I consider mentors in life. And I asked myself, what habits do they have that give them the results and give them the fire to work hard? And the one of the things that I realized that they all had as a very constant narrative throughout was that they were harder on themselves than anybody else in their life. That their self-talk was very, very hard. It was very dark. It was very tough. And knowing that and understanding that as one of those constants, it reprogrammed my mind to stop being so easy on me. I was way too easy on myself. Growing up, I had a beautiful life. I had an amazing life growing up. I had a very loving family that gave me everything I wanted. My family wasn't well off. My parents weren't well off, but they gave us the opportunities and the understanding enough to know what it means to work hard. And that if you want something, that you're going to do your best for it. Now, is life going to challenge you like it did? Yes, of course. When you come up against something that's going to make you doubt, at that point, what do? When we face a challenge that we have never come across in the past, do we turn inward and say, oh, you can do it? You deserve it all. Have I told myself that? Yes. But what happened when I failed a test in school? What happened if we lost a game? What happened if I had a fallout with friends or in my relationship? Oh, I thought I deserved everything. You end up getting disappointed because you realize the reality of life is no, you can't do certain things. You don't deserve everything. I'm I'm not gonna play in the NBA. It's physically impossible for me to. I know that. And yes, when I was growing up, like I had dreams of like playing basketball. I had dreams of being a musician. If you don't know, I used to produce music. Well, I still do, but it's a hobby. But what got me started in art was music. And I at some point I thought I had dreams of becoming a music producer. All the music that I use for the podcast, is stuff that I've produced in the past, and I guess that serves me now. But there was no way I could have been a music producer or a musician or an artist to work with artists that produce platinum albums. There was a time in my life where I dreamed of that. Now, did I have the talent? Probably not. But at the end of the day, I had to work through that understanding that, you know what, dude, you're not the shit. You might be a piece of shit. I had to tell myself that. Get the fuck over whatever you think you are, whatever you think you deserve in life, and get real with yourself. My ego had to be checked. And I'm not blaming anybody in my life or my family that gave me that positive self-talk. And they're like, you could do whatever you put your mind to. No matter how hard I could put my mind to playing basketball, what's really grounded in reality is I'm not fucking 6'6". I can't dunk. And at that point, once you come to terms with that and you stop forcing things and you stop resisting things, you allow life to unfold in reality. What I learned in mental health is what causes a lot of people to have altered states of reality in schizophrenia, in psychotic disorders, or what they call now is neurodivergent disorders. What causes a lot of those is not being able to grasp and accept their actual reality in life. And I would argue it's because we're fed this narrative of, if you don't like what's happening in life, create a new life. There's an element of fantasy in that. One example is, growing up, I loved going to Disneyland to the point where I'm almost embarrassed that I used to go there by myself. And, if you go there by yourself, I'm not knocking you or anything. But I look back at myself and I felt like I needed a place like that to escape the hardship of life. I will argue now that I look at my younger self as very, very emotionally weak and soft. I realized I needed to process through and to grow through all those moments in my life where I faced challenges. I turned to certain things that made me feel good and gave me an escape. And I would say that it helped shape who I am now. But when I started to really understand what relationship, what type of career that I wanted, the way I wanted to serve people, and my purpose in life, my true vocation in life, I had to toughen up. I had to get fucking hard on myself. And I turned to certain people, like I mentioned, there's a lot of people I turn to, and there's people like David Goggins that people throw around nowadays, Kobe. People talk about all these guys or whatever. Back then, it wasn't about preaching like, oh, I like Kobe or I listened to Goggins. Years ago, when I discovered David Goggins, I looked up to him, yes. But you don't have to talk about people you look up to. You show people who you become because of these mentors that you look up to. That's why for me, it gets oversaturated and overconcentrated when people throw out things and stuff, when you haven't actually ingrained to become someone strong because of these mentors. And for me, like it gets annoying to me because now, especially in the state that I'm at now, I see people like post quotes and all this shit on social media, and they're like, oh yeah, this is like, they're posting quotes from other men. And I do that because you get inspired by it. A lot of people that know me, they knew that I went really quiet and I went really dark for a certain amount of time because I had to become. I didn't want to claim that I was until I became that person. There's this thing. I mean, I I have this term for this now where people learn a new skill, they learn a new path, a new avenue, and then they're so quick to talk about it first before they've actually ingrained it into their life. And I call it premature indoctrination, where you pick up this new thing in life and you're all about it, and you let everybody know that you're all about it. You haven't even taken the time to build it as a pillar in your life. It's not even part of your foundation and core. If it's something that's going to fundamentally change you, I was always the type to be about it first. There's a lot of things that I challenged myself with. What it is now, I'm willing to talk about it because it's part of me now. I finally found a way to understand the ins and outs of it. I've drilled it in my life so freaking hard that I know it's not for ego anymore. And yeah, I have a dynamic fasting program. It's a fasting course because I've fasted for almost 10 years now. I've done different types of fasting in different conditions, different states, whether it be physical training, whether it be for mental acuity, whether it be for emotional stability and spiritual enlightenment. I used fasting in different aspects of my life so that now it's part of me. And I think that's the number one thing that we have to be aware of. It's like, before you talk about it, fucking be about it first. Fucking live it first. And I'm sorry if this is coming off harsh to some people, but I'm at this place now where I got to take ownership of my life again. The past 2 years, I lost myself again. Yeah, COVID happened, and I could partly blame it on that. Like, we're indoors, like work was different, work stalled a little bit. But at the end of the day, I am angry with myself for losing it, for losing myself, for losing the good grasp I had. And to me, this might sound harsh for some people. Some people be like, dude, go easy on yourself, man. Fuck that, dude. Before I got married, before I started my family, I was in this mode of working fucking hard. When I got married, I'll be honest, I took my foot off the gas. I sat on the top of the hill with my wife and I examined, and I was proud. I was too proud of my accomplishments. I sat on my laurels, and that was in 2018. But I always go back to that moment where God humbled me. When I was at the top of the hill with my wife and we were looking down at the hill that we just climbed together, and I looked back, and part of that hill was my career. Part of that hill was my master's degree. Part of that hill was getting my working as an RN, being proud of that. Part of that hill was helping my friends and helping my family. When you look down at a hill like that and you forget that there's other hills that you need to climb, I feel like that's where the other side, whatever you call it, the devil, whatever, evil, that's when the other side knows your weakness, and they will capitalize on that. I tell this story a lot in the Broken Instruments podcast, but that was the time when I was sitting on that hill with my wife and we felt like we accomplished everything and that we were in control of everything in our life. When we thought that, that's when God humbled me. That's when the hardest thing I ever had to accomplish happened. And at that point, I didn't know how to overcome it. We conceived a child early in our marriage, a few months in, and we lost the baby through a miscarriage about 10 weeks in. And I know this happens so much to people, and a lot of people talk about it. I didn't realize how common it was. But to hear your child's heartbeat in the first appointment, like in week 7, to show up to your next appointment about a month later, it was shocking to me because I remember not even expecting it. I remember like I even had my GoPro camera out, and we were gonna have the sonogram, and I remember that quiet, awkward, eerie feeling slowly creep in when the doctor couldn't find the heartbeat. And it hit my wife first, right? She realized it first. For me, I don't know why. I was so oblivious at the moment. I had my camera on and I was like, wait, what's happening? They called in the sonographer, and again, nothing. In that moment, my life crumbled. And I always look back at that moment because I was so prideful and I was so proud to be at the top of the hill and to enjoy the spoils of all my hard work. I did not expect it. And life slapped me across the face. And I needed to be there, not for myself, but I needed to be there for my wife, the love of my life, because she was suffering more than me. Now, I look back at that time, I look back to the past few years before that, and I was like, okay, what do I do? I thought I thought I had a good grasp of who I was. I thought I had a good grasp of my emotions and all this stuff. But when you're responsible and you're dedicated to another person who's also going through something, it's going to take way more than who you thought you were. And that's where I realized I am nothing. All these accomplishments that I had like, in that, I call them the prime years of my career, none of that shit could have grounded me more than that situation, more than that loss of life that God decided for me and my wife. That was the darkest time of my life. I'm not going to lie. The darkest moments in my life. It was so much harder because you have people that depend on you to show up. That year in 2018, I examined so many areas of my life, and I was humbled. I turned to discipline practices. I turned to everything that I thought helped me in the past and got me to understand, what it takes to get shit done. And I finally turned back to fasting at that point. And it reminded me of everything that I've practiced with austerity and discipline. Fasting, breathing exercises like Wim Hof method. And I told myself to look at my notes from the past. And I had a note that I wrote in 2011. And it was called the dead man philosophy. And I know in Stoicism, there's this whole like thought about, death and memento mori and stuff. But I can honestly say I wrote that shit in 2011 from my heart. And I remember when I read that note, I broke out into tears because it said, the one thing that a dead man craves the most is his breath. And that brought me back to this state of, and, I think back to when I read that, I feel like God reminded me what he's always told me, is that if you have nothing but God, you have everything. I feel like it's almost like I can hear those words in my head, like I've heard it from him himself. If you have nothing, and nothing meaning family, friends, money, a place to lay your head at night, If you have nothing but God, you have everything. And God literally took everything away at that point. He took everything away for me to find out that I am nobody on this earth and I don't deserve everything and I can't do everything. And that there's things that I have no control over, and I had to dive deep into the earth again and find my soul and reattach myself to a source of life. And this might be dark. I know this is going deeper than I thought it was going to go. But this all pertains to me discovering that I needed to be humbled and that I can't live for myself alone, that I can't live to make myself happy. It's not about your happiness only. What good is it if you're happy, you accomplish everything you have in life, and you find your peace in life, when the people next to you, the people that you love, you don't even care about them? And for me, this was the moment that I realized what I want to do in life is not to achieve greatness. I want to achieve groundedness. I want to be grounded and rooted and not let my spirit and emotions get the best of me, not to ride high on my horse, but to get shoved into the dirt more, because that's what really humbles me enough to understand what I can do in life and what's meaningful, what's real in life. We live in this life of numbers and value on this earth. The true wealth that I'm in search of, the true wealth that I yearn for and that I believe is there, is in the relationships that I have with people. It's in the messages that I receive based on life circumstances. And I believe that those messages are from God and a higher power, a higher source of life, more important than me. It's not from me. I believe we're all instruments of God in our own ways. Some are highlighted more than others. Some are well aware more than others. But I think you yourself, you are an instrument of God in the lives of the people around you. Now, to value that, it takes a lot more humility than I even understood. Me saying that I'm an instrument of God and all that shit, like, honestly, I am not worthy. We are broken. We are imperfect people. Why would God choose imperfect and broken people? To glorify him. All this seeking of approval, all this validation, it's what the world taught us to want in life. We thought that our value is only perceived by the people of this earth. No, when you go deep within yourself and you ground yourself and you dive into your roots, you need no validation. You have to answer to everything at the end of your life. Whether my friends thought I was a good friend, whether my daughter believes I was a good father, that doesn't matter when it's just me and God at the end of my life. That meeting that I have with God at the end of my life, that's between me and him. And I gotta own up to all this shit that I thought I was, that I believed I could do in life. We're not God. None of us are God, no matter what. And I've been at that place of people saying like, oh, you can make things happen in life, that you found skills and techniques to tap into your power as a person and ultimate power. Dude, at that point, we're playing God. And we think we can control whatever happens on this earth. And to me, that was the biggest downfall, is that I tried to be God, that I believed through my narcissistic tendencies that I was in control of everything. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for getting humbled the way that I did. And I always ask myself, like, would God bring us up to a tall mountain just to crush our spirits and our hopes and dreams? Yeah. In Christianity, he did it to himself. So what more? Of course he would do it to us. He did it to himself already. He did it to himself first. And to me, that's what helped me break this cycle of narcissism in my life. And it checked my ego to the point where I take ownership of the life that I live now, physically, mentally, emotionally, because it's not mine. As weird as that sounds, you take ownership of your life to give it back to God. That's what life's about. It's not about this, whatever someone believes you to be. It's not what you want people to believe you to be. It's what you do in the quiet moments when no one's watching. That's the reality. And how hard are you on yourself? How honest are you with yourself? When no one's watching, are you willing to do the hard shit? Are you willing to dig through the deep shit that you are when no one's watching? That's part of my self-talk. If you're going to talk about it, you're going to believe that you're about it, God's going to give you that moment when no one's watching, when it's just you and God, and he's going to fucking make you prove it. Are you the motherfucker that you said you are? And this is my relationship with God. You might have a different relationship with God, and that's fine. But now the real validation happens at the end of my life. We need to stop looking outward for external validation. If you're in the deep shit right now, if you're going through shit right now, newsflash, no one fucking cares. No one cares. When I was in the deepest shit, no one cared. When I was trying to help me and my wife get through the dark times, my family, my friends, they didn't care. They said they did. There was moments where they showed up, but at the end of the day, everyone's out for themselves. And that's okay. That's the reality. And it's okay. We're not going to make the world bend to us. We can't believe that the world will stop for us. If you're in the deep shit, go deeper. Go deeper. The deeper you go, the more you can understand what God has for you in life. And God, not the soaring through the clouds God that people make out to be the only God in this world. God is the darkness too. God allows bad things to happen in order for us to be humbled and to glorify Him. That to me is what helps us break through our narcissism in life. Pride is one of the 7 cardinal sins, and it's actually the first one. And I know, like, that's why I talk about it all the time now, because I've been so deep into this to dissect it, because I can't live by ego alone anymore. I'm tired because it didn't give me everything that I believed it was going to give me. I had to be humbled big time. If you're in the deep shit, go deeper. And to me, that's what gave me clarity in life. It took away all the colored lenses that I used to look at the world through. Clarity came in the darkest moments. Even the hint of light was the brightest because I was in the dark. And what I'm trying to do now is to speak this, not just out into the universe, but to speak it to the people that actually will benefit from it, that are actually willing to embrace it. It's a weird realm to be in now with social media and everything, and starting a mentorship program and all this stuff. Like, yeah, it's part of the ego on my part, where it's like I have to show who I am and my credibility in life. It's not numbers that I'm searching for. It's not numbers that I'm seeking. The message of who I am in my life, in my family's life, in my children, my wife. That's the message I want to bring. It's not because I think I'm a dope father. It's not because I'm a good husband. It's because I'm grounded to the point where I'm literally dust, trying to figure this out and how I can serve people. It could be the dust under someone's foot, dust on the windowsill, whatever it is. Just as long as people get what I'm trying to give, that's it, man. I know what it's like to be in certain stages in life where you're trying to accomplish things, and it's a very tricky moment because demons know your greatest weaknesses. And there's this one standing weakness that we all have, and it's the double-edged sword of pride. We need it, but too much of it hurts us. If we don't use our pride, we won't get anything done. What if we overuse our pride? We get everything done and we lose it all. So what the fuck are we supposed to do now? This is my message when it comes to taking back your life and taking ownership. Reconnect with your soul. The mentorship program that I'm building, in the Resolute Man program that I'm building, it's not just some self-help thing. It's not some self-help program. It's stripping away the layers and breaking down your life to the raw form so that you could serve others and you could serve friends, family, your workplace. So you can serve people in the purest form of you, because the purest form of you is the only one that can be resolute. If we're living for other things outside of there, we are no longer purpose-driven. We're ego-driven. And your determination is only going to bring you so far. It's only going to last so long. To be truly resolute, we have to be in our purest form as people. And it's not just physical strength. It's not just mental fortitude. It's not even just spirit. It's not even just resilience in our spirit. Spirit is external. And this is what I've been coming to understand, that the spirit and the soul are separate beings. They're separate parts of us. Emotional stability is both spiritual and soulful. But spirituality, spiritual things, there's a reason why we say the spirit is moving. When we go to concerts, we go to rallies, it's like spirited, because we're allowing the external spirit to motivate us, to inspire us. The spirit comes into us. That's different than being deep within your soul. So if I would look at it, spirituality is an external motivation. Soul, it's internal motivation. We take from within the source of who we are, and that lights us up and that motivates us to do things. I haven't fully rolled out the Resolute Man program yet. I'm still working out a few kinks, but if you're listening to this and it feels like you're resonating with the messages and the mindset that I'm bringing, the perspective that I'm bringing, I invite you to message me, DM me on Instagram, and we'll have a conversation about it, because I'm still crafting my first cohort about it. But I feel like this is one of my callings in life, to help, not only men discover our true purpose in life, but it's to help me, to help us become the men that others need in this world. Whether it be your family, whether it be your friends, whoever you come across, whoever you cross paths with in life, maintain that resolute man. Maintain the resolve. And to me, we have to protect the soul at all costs.